It's called the Elephant of West Africa. A land of striking contrasts and raw energy. Welcome to Côte d'Ivoire, the beating heart of West Africa. Here, the future is taking shape atop the glass skyscrapers of the Plateau, while the past still whispers its secrets beneath the sacred trees of the Senufo North. From the misty peaks of Mun and its mystical vine bridges to the majestic silhouette of the Yamoussoukro Basilica rising from the savannah, this country is a living mosaic. But the true wealth of this nation lies not only in its landscapes or its mineral resources, it beats in the hearts of its 60 ethnic groups. It is expressed in the unique concept of Tukpe, this inter-ethnic alliance that defuses conflicts through humor and is summed up in a universal word, etched in the DNA of every inhabitant: Aqaba. Welcome home. Today, Africa Revealed takes you on a 1-hour immersion. We will explore the culinary delights of the Maquis, decipher the successes of its rise, and unravel the mysteries of its ancestral traditions. Fasten your seatbelts. We're setting off to discover Côte d'Ivoire, the pearl that illuminates an entire continent. The journey begins now. Our journey begins here, at the heart of the action, Abidjan. The name alone is enough to conjure up an image of movement, energy, and magnificent contradictions. Abidjan is not a city one understands at first glance. It is a city one feels, in the pulse of its arteries at dawn, in the scent of palm oil rising from the roadside stalls in the late morning, in the muffled rumble of its 3.5 million inhabitants who set out each day with the quiet conviction that tomorrow will be greater than yesterday. Abidjan is the economic capital of Côte d'Ivoire, and far beyond. Today, it is the third largest French-speaking city in the world, after Paris, the second, and Kinshasa, the Great King, the first. This often overlooked figure speaks volumes about a metropolis built with unabashed ambition. At the heart of Abidjan lies Le Plateau, the business district that has earned the city its nickname, the Manhattan of West Africa. This is not a flattering metaphor, it is an accurate description. More than 200 office buildings made of glass and steel rise along the edge of the Ivory Lagoon, transforming the strip of land into a peninsula of economic ambition. The headquarters of major regional banks stand side by side. Embassies, the headquarters of multinational corporations that, for decades, have understood that to do business in Francophone West Africa, you have to be in Abidjan. And the city isn't stopping there. In 2026, Tower F, the future tallest tower in West Africa, reaching 230 meters, will continue to rise above the Plateau district. Each additional floor sends a message to the entire continent. Abidjan is playing in the big leagues. And to understand why, you only need to look south. The autonomous port of Abidjan is the second busiest port in West Africa. Every year, it handles more than 90 million tons of goods, Ivorian raw materials, of course, but also imports and exports from Mali, Burkina Faso, Niger, and the landlocked countries that depend on this maritime corridor for their economic survival. Abidjan is not just the economic capital of a country, it is the logistical heart of an entire region.
But the true heart of Abidjan doesn't beat in its glass towers, it beats on the water. The Ivoire Lagoon stretches across 560 square kilometers, dividing the city into archipelagos of distinct neighborhoods, each with its own character, smells, and rhythms. It is the axis around which Abidjan was built, and it remains today the invisible link that unites neighborhoods that could otherwise be diametrically opposed. Cocody, in the northeast of the lagoon, is the upscale residential district. Villas protected by flower-covered walls, embassies, major universities, and terraced cafes where Abidjan's bourgeoisie discusses financial markets and the upcoming Champions League season. Adjamé in the north is the complete opposite, the largest and noisiest market in the sub-region, where thousands of traders are crammed into a labyrinth of alleyways that defies any map. And yet, Cocody and Adjamé share the same lagoon. They share the same sky. It is in this coexistence of extremes that the chaotic genius of Abidjan resides, a city that refuses to be simple. When the sun sets over the lagoon, Abidjan does not fall asleep, it transforms. The Maquis are opening up in every neighborhood, in every street, in every corner of the sidewalk. This Ivorian word, inherited from the French term for resistance fighters hidden in the forest, today designates something profoundly peaceful, an open-air space of conviviality, half restaurant, half stage, where food, music, and conversation mix until the early hours of the morning. In the Abidjan Maquis resonates a music that the whole world has adopted without always knowing where it came from, the Coupé-Décalé. Born in Paris at the beginning of the 2000s in the Ivorian diaspora, triumphantly re-imported to Abidjan, exported since across the entire African continent and well beyond. Its syncopated rhythms, its deep bass, its exuberant dances have become the sound signature of an African generation which refuses the labels that others impose on it. When DJ Arafat, the undisputed king of Coupé-Décalé, died in August 2019 in a motorcycle accident, an entire continent cried. A funeral which brought together hundreds of thousands of people in the streets of Abidjan, a collective mourning which forced the world to look at this city and to measure the cultural weight of what it had ignored for so long. But the Abidjan cultural scene is not limited to music. The city is home to a community of contemporary artists whose work travels to international fairs in Basel and Miami. Abidjan Fashion Week attracts designers from all over the world every year. The Cécile Fakouri Gallery, one of the most influential in the French-speaking Africa, has made Abidjan a must-visit for anyone who wants to understand African art of the 21st century. Somewhere in this cultivated forest, there is a cocoa pod that will end up in your kitchen. You don't know it yet, neither does it, but the odds are in its favor, and in the favor of millions of other pods hanging right now from the smooth trunks of the cocoa trees of the Haut-Sassandra and Low-Jibwa regions, because Côte d'Ivoire produces between 40 and 45% of the world's cocoa. Just one country on a planet of 195 nations. Just one country that alone provides nearly half of the world's cocoa supply, the raw material without which the chocolate you eat simply wouldn't exist. Ghana, the world's second largest producer, produces half as much. The rest of the world produces the other half, spread across about 10 countries. Every chocolate bar consumed in Europe, every cocoa powder used in North American pastries, almost certainly contains Ivorian cocoa beans. This invisible link between the hands of an Ivorian farmer and the shelves of a Parisian or New York supermarket is one of the most important and least discussed economic facts of the modern world. In the Low Jibwa region, cocoa trees stretch as far as the eye can see, cultivated on plots averaging 2 to 4 hectares by millions of small family farmers. These are not industrial operations. They are farms passed down from father to son, from mother to daughter, where the knowledge of the soil, the climate, and the tree belongs to those who have lived there for generations. After harvesting, the beans ferment for 5 to 7 days, a crucial stage during which the aromatic precursors that will give chocolate its character develop. They then dry in the sun for a week or two before being bagged and shipped to the ports of Abidjan and San Pedro. And this is where the economic paradox appears in all its starkness. Even today, more than 80% of these beans leave Côte d'Ivoire raw, unprocessed. They arrive at processing plants in Zurich, Amsterdam, and Chicago, where they are converted into cocoa butter, powder, and mass, the basic components of chocolate. It's at this stage that the added value skyrockets, and it's at this stage that the wealth, until now, has escaped the country that produced it. The government's Cocoa 2030 program has the specific aim of correcting this equation. Its goal to increase the local processing rate to 50% of the cocoa beans produced, to make Côte d'Ivoire not just a supplier of raw materials, but a full-fledged player in the global chocolate value chain. Grinding and processing plants continue to open in Abidjan and San Pedro. The first Ivorian-branded chocolate is beginning to tentatively appear on international markets. The road is long, but the direction has been set. And in the forests of the Haut-Sassandra region, each ripening cocoa pod carries within it the promise of a more equitable distribution.
There is a second agricultural empire in Côte d'Ivoire, less well known to the world than cocoa, less publicized, but just as fundamental to the country's economic stability and to the global markets that depend on it. In the northern regions, around Korhogo, Bonduku, and Fetesedougou, the cashew tree reigns supreme. Côte d'Ivoire is the world's leading producer of cashew nuts, with an annual production of approximately 900,000 tons. It supplies nearly a quarter of global demand, a market worth over $6 billion annually. This figure puts the country far ahead of India and Vietnam, its main competitors in this market. And unlike cocoa, where local processing is progressing slowly, the cashew sector has undergone a remarkable industrial transformation in the last 10 years. Between 2015 and 2024, Côte d'Ivoire's cashew processing capacity increased five-fold, from 68,000 to over 350,000 tons processed locally. This quiet revolution created more than 18,000 direct jobs, mostly for women, in the northern regions that needed them most. Processing remains incomplete. A significant portion of the production continues to leave the country unprocessed, but the trend is clear. And in the northern towns, around the factories that now operate year-round, a local economy has emerged. Families who have been able to send their children to school, build permanent homes, and access healthcare. The cashew nut, discreet and often overlooked, is one of the quietest and most enduring economic stories of contemporary Côte d'Ivoire. While Côte d'Ivoire dominates the global cocoa market, its agriculture extends far beyond that. The country boasts one of the most powerful and diversified agricultural sectors in Africa. From coffee plantations to vast rubber groves, and including cashew nuts and palm oil, Ivorian agriculture has become the cornerstone of the entire national economy. For decades, coffee was one of the symbols of Ivorian wealth. In the 1970s and 80s, Côte d'Ivoire was among the world's largest producers. Ivorian coffee was exported to Europe and contributed significantly to the famous Ivorian economic miracle. Even though cocoa has gradually become more important, coffee remains an essential crop for hundreds of thousands of rural families today. But in recent years, another resource has experienced spectacular growth: the rubber tree. Little known to the general public, this tree produces the latex used to manufacture natural rubber. Tires, shoes, industrial equipment, the modern world depends heavily on this raw material. Faced with growing global demand, many Ivorian farmers have turned to rubber, sometimes more profitable than cocoa. Côte d'Ivoire is now one of the largest African producers of natural rubber. Palm oil is another strategic sector. Used in food, cosmetics, and industrial products, it represents a colossal market worldwide. Côte d'Ivoire is among the leading African producers and continues to expand its plantations to meet international demand. Thanks to this agricultural diversity, Côte d'Ivoire not only sustains its own economy, but also plays a key role in global supply chains. However, this agricultural power also raises important questions: deforestation, dependence on raw materials, and vulnerability to global price fluctuations. Because behind the economic successes lies a major challenge: how to continue to produce more and more without depleting the country's resources. Since the early 2010s, Côte d'Ivoire has undergone a dramatic transformation. After years of political crises and conflicts, the country embarked on a vast economic reconstruction. In just a few years, major Ivorian cities, particularly Abidjan, have seen the emergence of new roads, modern bridges, and infrastructure that symbolize the ambitions of a country looking to the future. In Abidjan, the changes are visible everywhere. Huge interchanges now crisscross the city to ease traffic congestion that had become chaotic due to the population explosion. New highways connect strategic neighborhoods and facilitate trade throughout the country. For many Ivorians, these projects represent the return of stability and progress after years of uncertainty. Among the most impressive symbols of this modernization is the Henri Konan-Bédier Bridge. A true architectural icon, this toll bridge connects several major districts of Abidjan and illustrates the country's new ambitions. Other massive projects have followed: renovation of the port of Abidjan, modernization of the international airport, new stadiums, industrial zones, and urban metro projects. This rapid growth is not limited to the economic capital. In several regions of the country, new infrastructure is also emerging: intercity roads, hospitals, universities, and power grids. The Ivorian government seeks to make Côte d'Ivoire a true regional hub capable of connecting all of West Africa. This rapid growth is attracting a growing number of foreign investors. French, Chinese, Turkish, Moroccan, and American companies are investing heavily in the telecommunications, construction, energy, and finance sectors. For many international investors, Côte d'Ivoire is now one of the most promising markets on the African continent.
The country consistently boasts some of the highest economic growth rates in Africa. This momentum fuels the image of a nation on the rise, often presented as a model of economic recovery in the region. But this rapid modernization also masks more complex realities. Despite the new skyscrapers and major projects, a significant portion of the population continues to live in precarious conditions. Inequalities remain visible between wealthy neighborhoods and working-class areas. Many then wonder whether this growth truly benefits all Ivorians or only a privileged minority. Because behind the modern bridges and brand new towers, the real question remains, can Côte d'Ivoire transform this impressive growth into lasting prosperity for its entire population?
Ivory Coast speaks 78 languages. This single sentence deserves our attention. Not informal dialects, not regional variations of a shared language, but 78 distinct linguistic systems, each with its own grammar, oral literature, and worldview. This figure speaks volumes, more than any economic statistic, about the depth of a territory shaped by history long before borders drawn by foreign powers gave it its current form. 5 major ethno-linguistic groups structure Ivorian society, 5 families of peoples occupying distinct territories, speaking different languages, practicing incomparably rich rituals, and yet, for centuries, sharing the same land. In the south and center, the Akan peoples, Baolé, Agni, and Abron, form the largest group, comprising approximately 38% of the total population. They are the heirs of the great forest civilizations of the Gulf of Guinea, masters of gold, wood carving, and a remarkably sophisticated political and ritual organization. The pre-colonial Akan kingdoms developed systems of governance, economic redistribution, and land management that anthropologists still study today to understand how societies without a centralized state can maintain cohesion across vast territories. In the north, the northern Mande peoples, Dula, Malinke, and Bambara, are the heirs of the great trade routes of the Mandinka Empire. For centuries, they made Côte d'Ivoire a bustling crossroads between the coastal forest and the Sahel. Gold, cola nuts, salt, and textiles, but also ideas, beliefs, and innovations circulated along these routes, which their caravans knew better than anyone. Even today, the city of Corojogo bears the living imprint of this heritage. In the north, the Gur peoples, including the Senufo, Lobi, and Kulango, maintain artistic traditions whose influence extends far beyond the country's borders. Senufo funerary masks and sculptures are now exhibited at the Musée du Quai Branly in Paris, the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York, and the British Museum in London. Their aesthetic profoundly influenced the European artistic avant-garde of the early 20th century. Cubism owes them a considerable debt, a debt rarely acknowledged publicly by those who benefited most from it. In the west, the Kru peoples, Bete, Wei, and Dida, inhabit the dense forests of the southwest. They are masters of the mask in its most spectacular forms, constructions of feathers, carved wood, fabric, and metal, which can weigh several tens of kilograms. These masks are not worn, they are danced. Those who embody them during major ceremonies enter a trance-like state, temporary mediators between the visible and the invisible. To the east, the southern Mande peoples, Guro, Yakuba, Tura, whose Dan masks have been inscribed on UNESCO's representative list of the intangible cultural heritage of humanity. These masks are not decorative objects, they are living entities, mediators between the world of the living and that of the ancestors, between the community and the forces that transcend it. They judge conflicts, they protect the weak, they remind everyone that human existence is not measured solely by what we see. 5 groups,
78 languages, one nation, built on difference and sustained by centuries of uninterrupted coexistence. Before the French arrived, even before the name Ivory Coast existed, this territory was home to civilizations whose political and commercial sophistication challenges all simplistic representations of pre-colonial Africa. The Kong Empire is the most striking example. Founded in the 17th century by Dioula merchants in the north of the country, the Kong Empire was not merely a commercial power. Its capital, the city of Kong, was a first-rate intellectual crossroads, a city of scholars, merchants and theologians, where Islam blended with local animist traditions in a remarkably peaceful coexistence. The mosques of Kong, built of burnt clay in a Sudanese Sahelian style of austere elegance, once radiated influence throughout the region. For 2 centuries, Kong controlled the trade routes between the forest and the desert. Its madrasas trained scholars who traveled as far as North Africa. Its main mosque was a symbol of spiritual and intellectual power, visible for miles around. All of this was reduced to ashes in 1997, when Samori Touré, in a tragic episode of resistance against French colonization, ordered the city razed to prevent it from falling into enemy hands. The ruins of Kong's mosques, designated a National Historical Heritage Site, are today among the most moving sights in the country, the silent imprint of a once great city. Further south, another story unfolds. This one has been passed down in hushed tones for generations among the Baoulé families of central Mali. In the 18th century, Queen Abla Poku, driven from the Ashanti kingdom in what is now Ghana by wars of succession, led her people on a long and perilous exodus westward, weeks of walking through forests and rivers, until she reached the swollen Comoe River, impetuous, impassable, a natural barrier between her people and their survival. According to oral tradition, the river's spirits demanded in exchange for passage what she held most dear in the world. The queen walked toward the water and threw her newborn son into the current. The river calmed, the people crossed, and the first word spoken by the queen on the other side, through her tears, was Baouli, the child is dead. That word became a name, that name became a people, and that people became the most important in Ivory Coast. The legend of Abla Poku is not just a story of sacrifice, it is a foundational philosophy, that of a leader who pays with his very being for the right to lead his people toward the future. It is in these stories that nations find their true character. In 1843, France established a protectorate over several coastal regions. In 1893, colonization became official, and what followed is a story that French history books have long told from a single perspective. The colonial administration restructured the economy around export plantations, cocoa, coffee and timber. It imposed forced labor, porterage, and a tax system designed to compel local populations to enter the colonial monetary economy. The vast southern forest was cleared at an industrial pace. Pre-colonial political structures, those kingdoms and chiefdoms that had administered the territory for centuries, were marginalized or eliminated. But resistance existed, and it was not symbolic. Samori Touré, a Mandinka leader, founder of an empire stretching from present-day Guinea to northern Ivory Coast, waged a war of resistance against the French advance for nearly 16 years. His strategy combined mobile guerrilla warfare, diplomacy, and constant rearmament. His disciplined army inflicted defeats on the colonial troops that contemporary French military reports described as significant. He was one of the most formidable adversaries the colonial power had ever faced in West Africa. In 1898, after 16 years of resistance, Samori Touré was finally captured. He was exiled to Gabon, where he died 2 years later, but his name lives on. Today, he is commemorated throughout West Africa, in Ivory Coast, Guinea, Mali, and Senegal, as one of the most enduring symbols of African resistance to colonial domination. From such resistance, consciences are born, and from these consciences, a man is born. Born in a village in the interior, the son of a traditional chief who will traverse the politics of the 20th century to etch his name in the history of an entire continent. He was born in 1905 in a small village in the center of the country, Ngokakro, now part of Yamoussoukro. His father was chief of the Akue tribe, a Baoulé lineage with undisputed customary authority. He grew up between two worlds, his father's traditional chieftaincy and the French colonial school, where he excelled with a consistency that surprised no one, except perhaps those who hadn't yet observed him closely. In 1944, Félix Houphouët-Boigny was not yet head of state. He was a doctor and a cocoa farmer, and he had just done something extraordinary, founded the first African Agricultural Union in Ivory Coast to defend local farmers against the privileges granted solely to French colonists. It was a political act, and it was an act of courage in a territory where such acts had consequences. 2 years later, he was elected to the French National Assembly in Paris. In 1950, he secured the abolition of forced labor throughout French Africa, one of the most significant reforms of late colonial history, achieved not by force of arms, but through negotiation. This moment would define his entire political philosophy: dialogue as the primary weapon, confrontation as the last resort. On August 7, 1960, Félix Houphouët-Boigny proclaimed the independence of Côte d'Ivoire and became its first president. He was 55 years old. He would govern the country for 33 years until his death in December 1993. 33 years during which he transformed an export colony into the most dynamic economy in sub-Saharan Africa. His imprint on the territory of the country is literal. He moved the official capital to Yamoussoukro, his birthplace, and commissioned the construction of the Basilica of Our Lady of Peace, inaugurated in 1990. 30,000 square meters of covered area, a colonnade wider than that of St. Peter's Basilica in Rome, presented as a gift to the Vatican upon its completion. Regardless of one's opinion of the symbolism, it was the gesture of a man who believed with unwavering conviction that his country deserved to be great. But Houphouët-Boigny's true basilica, the one that truly transformed lives, is not in Yamoussoukro. It is everywhere, in the paved roads that connect the most remote regions, in the hospitals built where there were only clinics, in the universities open to a generation that didn't yet have the words to describe what it would become. It is in this context of absolute political will that the country would enter, starting in the 1960s, a period that economists around the world would call, with a mixture of admiration and disbelief, the Ivorian miracle. Between 1960 and 1980, Côte d'Ivoire experienced one of the most spectacular periods of economic growth in post-colonial African history. GDP grew at an average rate of 9 to 10% per year for 2 consecutive decades. Abidjan became the economic metropolis of all of West Africa, nicknamed with a mixture of admiration and envy, the Paris of West Africa. This growth rested on 3 pillars: The first, a proactive agricultural policy. The government invested heavily in rural infrastructure, developed the cocoa and coffee sectors, and attracted foreign capital to the agribusiness industry. The second pillar, genuine political stability. In an Africa of the 1960s and 70s marked by coups and civil wars, Côte d'Ivoire was a notable exception. The third pillar, a resolute openness to French and international investment, which poured in massive numbers to a country perceived as safe, predictable, and profitable. This miracle, however, came at a social cost that growth statistics did not account for. The workforce supplying the plantations was largely composed of migrant workers from neighboring countries, attracted by an expanding labor market and largely encouraged by the government itself. This massive immigration would create identity tensions for which Côte d'Ivoire would pay the price decades later. The notion of ivoirité, a concept that would deny millions of long-term residents the right to nationality and land, emerged from the fractures that rapid and unequal growth had left in the country's social fabric. In the late 1980s, the sharp fall in international cocoa and coffee prices plunged the country into a severe recession. Structural adjustment programs imposed by international financial institutions squeezed social spending. When Houphouët-Boigny died in December 1993, he left behind a weakened but not broken country.
After Houphouët-Boigny, Côte d'Ivoire entered a decade of political turmoil that nothing in the narrative of the economic miracle had clearly anticipated. The succession was immediately contested. Henri Konan Bédié assumed power constitutionally, but introduced into the political debate the notion of ivoirité, an exclusionary tool designed to disqualify his rival, Alassane Ouattara, accused of having foreign origins. This concept deeply fractured Ivorian society along ethno-regional lines. In December 1999, a military coup overthrew Bédié. It was the first in the country's history. In September 2002, an armed rebellion broke out in the north of the country. Within days, Côte d'Ivoire was divided in two, the south under control of government, the north under the control of the Force Nouvelle, new forces. This demarcation line, marked by checkpoints, buffer zones, and the presence of French soldiers from Operation Licorne, cut across the country like a scar. The crisis lasted 9 years. It displaced hundreds of thousands of people, destroyed infrastructure, and left deep wounds in the collective memory, some of which have not yet fully healed. The crisis reached its peak in 2010-2011. The presidential election pitted Alassane Ouattara, recognized by the international community, against Laurent Gbagbo, who refused to acknowledge his defeat. The clashes resulted in more than 3,000 deaths. Gbagbo was arrested in April 2011 and transferred to the International Criminal Tribunal, the first former head of state to appear before this body. What followed this rupture was a rebirth. Under the presidency of Alassane Ouattara, Côte d'Ivoire returned to one of the world's strongest growth rates, between 7 and 9% annually from 2012 to 2019. Infrastructure was rebuilt, investments poured in. National reconciliation remains a painful and unfinished process. Memories cannot be erased by decree, but the country is moving forward. A nation that almost broke apart and that chose collectively not to. That too is Côte d'Ivoire. This stubborn refusal to stagnate, this capacity to reinvent tomorrow from the ruins of yesterday, a lesson that the world's most stable capitals would do well to study. If there is one place on earth where the joy of living has been elevated to an art form, it is here. From the bustling streets of Abidjan to the peaceful villages in the interior, the Ivorian art of living is unique. It is
is a philosophy of festive resilience, a distinctive way of rejecting stress and embracing the present. It all begins with a word, a sacred concept, Aqaba. More than just a welcome, Aqaba is a promise of pure hospitality, a pact that transforms the stranger into a brother. Here, we don't just get through the days, we celebrate them. It's often said that in Côte d'Ivoire, you don't just live, you enjale life. To understand the Ivorian soul, you must first sit down at its table, or rather settle down on a wooden bench on a street corner in what everyone here calls a garba drome. Atieke, it's the national dish of Côte d'Ivoire. This fermented cassava semolina is the result of a long and precise process. The cassava is first peeled, grated, fermented for several days, then pressed to extract the water, crumbled by hand, and finally steamed. The result is a light, slightly tangy base that pairs perfectly with grilled fish, braised meat, sautéed vegetables, or even a simple fried egg in the morning. Today, atieke is exported. You can find it in European supermarkets, in African restaurants in New York, and in the markets of the Ivorian diaspora from Montreal to Lyon. It is currently being considered for inscription on UNESCO's Intangible Cultural Heritage List, a recognition that will honor not only the dish itself, but also the expertise of the women who have been making it for centuries. And then there's garba, the quintessential street food of Abidjan. Atieke, canned tuna, and a homemade chili sauce served in a plastic container for a few hundred CFA francs. Simple, quick, filling, and delicious. This is the lunch of choice for 3 million Abidjan residents, eaten standing up on a street corner between appointments in the heat and noise of the city. But Ivorian cuisine doesn't stop there. It's an explosion of generous flavors. Think of the braised chicken, meltingly tender, or aloko, those golden and sweet fried plantains that accompany every late afternoon. To wash down these delights without a drop of alcohol, Ivorians have mastered the art of natural drinks. They refresh themselves with a glass of ice-cold bissap, the sweet and fragrant infusion of bright red hibiscus flowers. Or, for the more adventurous, there's nyamang kuji, an ultra-powerful, spicy ginger juice that instantly awakens the taste buds and provides an incredible energy boost. Sharing a meal here is never a purely functional act. This is the moment when tongues loosen, stories are told, and generosity is measured by the size of the portion you are served. If food nourishes the body, humor is the fuel of the Ivorian spirit. In Côte d'Ivoire, self-deprecation is a national sport, second nature. They use an absolute weapon to diffuse tensions and elevate everyday life, nushi. Originally, nushi was the slang of Abidjan's streets. Today, it's a true language of creativity, spoken by all generations, from ministers to school children. Nushi is a living language, reinventing itself every morning. You don't say you understand, you say, I get it. You don't talk about your business, you talk about your bo. It's a vivid, impactful language, full of urban poetry, that transforms even the most mundane conversation into a theatrical performance. This humor goes hand in hand with a profound philosophy, knowing how to enjoy your own struggles. This is what is sometimes called the gata spirit. Faced with a difficulty where others might get angry, Ivorians prefer to make a joke, find the absurdity of the situation, and laugh about it with their neighbors. This isn't recklessness, it's a superior form of courage and dignity. They refuse to let worries steal their smiles. Laughing at themselves, laughing at others, but always with kindness is the glue that holds social cohesion together. When you walk down the street, you constantly hear bursts of theatrical voices. People tease each other, call out to one another, and give each other improbable nicknames. It's a continuous symphony of good humor where melancholy simply has no place. In Côte d'Ivoire, appearance also plays a significant role. Dressing well is not just a matter of fashion, but often a way to show respect for oneself and others. In the streets of Abidjan, the colors of wax print fabric mingle with modern urban styles. Tailors create bespoke garments, blending African traditions with contemporary inspirations. Elegance is part of everyday life. Even for a simple outing or a family meal, many people like to pay attention to their appearance. This sartorial creativity also reflects the energy of Ivorian youth. Ambitious, expressive, and forward-looking. Fashion then becomes a silent language, a way to assert one's identity while celebrating one's culture. Behind the excitement of the festivities and the music, the Ivorian way of life rests on an invisible but indestructible pillar: community solidarity. In Côte d'Ivoire, individualism has no place. People live together, literally. A neighbor is not a stranger who lives next door. They are someone whose family you know, with whom you share a meal if the day has been good, and on whom you can count in times of hardship. This spirit of community is evident from the moment you wake up, through the ritual of greetings. A simple hello is not enough. You take the time. You ask about someone's health, work, children, and how they slept. It is a genuine sign of care, a suspended moment where the existence of the other is acknowledged. This warmth of human connection is also reflected in an extraordinary fluidity in social relations. Barriers quickly fall away. People spontaneously help each other to push a broken-down car, carry heavy luggage, or look after the neighborhood children. The concept of family extends far beyond blood ties. An elder in the neighborhood is respected and listened to like a close relative. It is this informal network of support that gives everyone this unique feeling of security and warmth. People know they will never be completely alone in the face of adversity. Despite the country's rapid urbanization, traditions remain very much alive. Côte d'Ivoire boasts a great cultural diversity, with peoples such as the Baoulé, the Senufo, the Bete, and the Akan. Each region has its own customs, dances, skills, and ceremonies. Respect for elders remains a fundamental value. Elders pass down stories, advice, and family traditions. In some communities, traditional ceremonies still mark the major milestones of life. Crafts also remain important. Sculptures, textiles, masks, and pottery bear witness to a rich and vibrant cultural heritage. The Ivorian way of life does not seek to oppose modernity and tradition. It blends them naturally, always maintaining a strong connection to its cultural roots. Ivory Coast is changing. Across the country, new buildings are rising from the ground, roads are expanding, cranes dominate the horizon, and a new generation is trying to reshape the country's future.
At the heart of this urban transformation, a colossal project is capturing everyone's attention, the monumental construction site of the Abidjan Metro. Over 37 kilometers long, the Future Line 1 will connect the north to the south, linking Anyama directly to the international airport in record time. This automated express network is preparing to transport more than 500,000 passengers per day. This promises to be a true liberation for Abidjan's workers, who have long been accustomed to the ordeal of traffic jams. By reducing the use of private vehicles, this clean transport will purify the capital's air and reduce its carbon footprint. These modern air-conditioned trains symbolize an Ivory Coast in rapid, fluid motion, resolutely attentive to the well-being of its citizens. Development only makes sense if it respects the land that sustains it. The Ivory Coast of tomorrow has understood this well by embarking on a major energy transition. The country is diversifying its sources to reach more than 45% renewable energy in its national mix. In the north, the bush now hosts gigantic solar parks, capturing the sun's power to supply homes. Further south, state-of-the-art hydroelectric dams harness the power of rivers without destroying ecosystems. Even cocoa farming byproducts are finding a second life, transformed into electricity thanks to innovative biomass power plants. By becoming West Africa's energy hub, Côte d'Ivoire is proving that an industrial giant can also be a champion of green growth. The Côte d'Ivoire of the future no longer simply wants to extract, it wants to transform. Agro-Business 2.0 is underway. Proud of its status as the world's leading cocoa producer, the nation is accelerating its growth by industrializing local processing. High-tech factories are springing up in the industrial zones of Abidjan and San Pedro. Now, chocolate, cocoa paste, and cashew nuts are manufactured directly on site before being exported. This industrial strategy is creating thousands of skilled jobs for young people and retaining the added value within the country. The Made in Côte d'Ivoire label is establishing itself on international markets as a guarantee of superior quality, ethical practices, and expertise. Brown gold is no longer just a raw material, it is the driving force behind a confident economic sovereignty. This economic dynamism is fueled by a burgeoning digital ecosystem, which some are already calling the Silicon Lagoon. A new generation of Ivorian minds is taking the reins through code and innovation. The excitement is palpable in startup incubators. They are creating the financial solutions of tomorrow through fintech and revolutionizing market access for farmers through agri-tech. These young entrepreneurs, trained in top local schools or returning from the diaspora, are attracting capital from around the world. They are disrupting traditional economic norms and proving that brain power is the country's most valuable resource. Digital technology is no longer a sectoral luxury. It is the invisible glue that connects all Ivorian ambitions.
To build this Ivory Coast of tomorrow, we need prepared builders. Education and vocational training have become the absolute priorities of the decade. Throughout the country, new specialized universities and cutting-edge technical training centers are opening their doors. The objective is clear: to adapt the skills of young people to the real needs of future industries. Particular emphasis is placed on empowering young women who are increasingly excelling in scientific and technological fields. By investing massively in its human capital, Ivory Coast is securing its future. This educated, bold, and globally aware youth constitutes the best bulwark for the country's stability and the most powerful engine of its long-term development. But this development will not come at the expense of the Ivorian soul and nature. Tomorrow's tourism will be green, cultural, and responsible. Far from mass tourism, Côte d'Ivoire is developing exceptional eco-tourism projects. From the heart of the primary Taï forest, a biodiversity sanctuary, to community initiatives in the northern villages, travelers are invited to enjoy an immersive and respectful experience. National parks are receiving enhanced protection through drone surveillance technologies, preserving wildlife and flora for future generations. This tourism development model values local cultures, funds conservation, and provides rural communities with sustainable income. The Ivory Coast of tomorrow knows that its natural beauty is a priceless treasure that must be jealously protected. But an Ivory Coast that is clear-sighted about itself recognizes what growth figures don't fully tell. Inequalities between the north and south of the country remain deep. Structural, inherited from decades of unequal investment. According to World Bank data, nearly 40% of the rural population still lives below the poverty line. National reconciliation remains a painful and unfinished process. The fractures of 2010-2011 have not been fully healed, either by law or by time. Finally, climate change directly threatens the cocoa belt. Recent studies project that a significant portion of current growing areas may no longer be arable by 2050. These challenges are not mere footnotes. They lie at the heart of what Côte d'Ivoire will or will not be tomorrow. This concludes our immersion in the heart of Côte d'Ivoire. From the vertigo-inducing heights of Abidjan to the secrets of the Kong Empire, we have resonated with the rhythm of a unique people, capable of reinventing the future without ever denying their roots. Côte d'Ivoire cannot be described, it must be experienced. It can be heard in the laughter of its children and savored in the warmth of its Maquis, open-air restaurants. If this journey to the heart of revealed Africa has stirred your heart, don't leave without leaving your mark. Subscribe to the channel. Turn on notifications so you don't miss any of our upcoming explorations, and share this documentary with your friends. Also, tell us in the comments which aspect of this great country touched you the most. We're in this together. Take care and see you soon.